Well, it sounds like it's a kind of a week of just okay because the feminine half of Barbenheimer was my
Yes.
thing of the week. My sister basically she didn't pay for it, but she suggested that my parents and I go see Barbie while it's still in theaters.
Mm,
Um, so we decided, sure, why not? An excuse to meet up on Sunday morning.
yeah. Mm.
Um, Also, now we know roughly how tall Margot Robbie is. Now that I look at that,
She's
assuming she
taller.
wasn't wearing platforms.
Oh yeah, yeah. I figured she was probably about average or slightly above average.
Yeah, but anyway, okay. Also, this marks back to back Margot Robbie.
Oh yeah, it does.
She is slightly more clothed than she was in Wolf of Wall Street.
I would certainly hope so.
Yeah, because they're showing this to children. All right.
Yeah.
So Daniel, let me tell you about a movie.
Mhm.
It's a Warner Brothers movie about a beloved toy property that is being adapted for the big screen. Uh,
Mhm.
it a character is living a life that is artificial and ultimately unfulfilling. They start questioning things, and then they are thrust into a bigger adventure uh, in order to find something. And Will Ferrell is a businessman who shows up at the end and is full of and there's a bit of fourth wall breaking humor.
Uh, are you talking about the Lego Movie?
I am talking about the Lego movie, and the description also fits pretty decently with the Barbie movie.
Ah.
So the difference is that I think that the Lego movie was it really didn't break the fourth wall too much until um, the the end, like the end where Will Ferrell showed up as the dad.
Yeah. Yeah.
But so I have complicated feelings about this movie.
Mm.
So there's like a few different levels you can take this on. Um, I guess yeah. So the basic plot summary, like I said, it is very Lego movie ish. You know, Margot Robbie is what they call stereotypical Barbie because she lives in Barbie world.
Eh,
There's like President Barbie, there's um, Surgeon Barbie, there's Poet Barbie, there's
Yeah.
uh, like every Barbie has a thing. She's just kind of the default Barbie that you think of when you think of Barbie, which they actually say explicitly at least once.
Ah.
And she lives a seemingly happy life, and every day she has breakfast, and they have lovingly recreated Barbie's dream house.
Eh,
Like she gets into the shower, and no water comes out, but it's as if she feels like she's being showered. Um, she goes downstairs and big like she has like an oversized toast or waffle that lands on her plate that looks like it's made of plastic. At least I think it. Forget if the waffle looked like it was made of plastic. Now that I think about it,
Yeah.
but you get the idea. It's just like very
Yeah.
artificial life, and she goes down to the beach, and her and she's close-ish with I guess you'd call him stereotypical Ken, whose entire thing is being at the beach. Now, I'm not a lifeguard. That's a different Ken. I'm just beach Ken,
Beach bum Ken.
pretty much. And you can tell that Ken is very into her, but
Mm.
she really isn't into him. And so, like, they party, and then every night she has like a girls' night party, and
Uh,
it is very clear that this is a pure raw matriarchy, where the Kens are just second class citizens who just kind of exist as accessories to the Barbies.
ah. Yes.
Um, and then the next day, you kind of run through the same opening again, but now the water is cold. The waffle is burnt.
Oh.
Barbie's heels actually touch the ground.
Yeah.
And it turns out that something is happening in the real world. So she has to go there. And Ken follows along,
Uh,
and it's basically because somebody is playing with her wrong, uh,
uh,
which is starting to make her seem more real, or it's like making reality is intruding upon her.
mm. So it was very existential.
Yes, and that's a good word for this movie. Uh,
Mm,
so, like, where I would say the Lego Movie, its most logical point of comparison, in my opinion, is like I would say the Lego Movie was a bit existential, but it also had more of like a classic questing type thing.
mm.
Uh, this is much more about feelings and everything.
So one was more toward one's more for boys, one's the other one's more for girls.
I know it's shocking, right? Who would have thought?
Yeah.
Um, so, and because there's like multiple levels to take this on, um, to kind of just press on with it. Um, uh, I'm struggling a little bit because I don't want to just do like a blow by blow recap of the movie, so I'm trying to figure out how not to do that.
Yeah.
Um, I guess I'll just say the things that you've heard all the commentators who have talked about this movie say. So they
Yeah.
show up there and they realize that the real world is a patriarchy, and Ken is like really into that because it's like eye opening. So he brings that back to Barbie world, and the Kens rise up and just take over, and have all the women just be like stereotypical, empty-headed, you know, constantly bringing them brewski beers, as they say it, and then they use their feminine wiles to trick them into not voting to change the Barbie Land Constitution to make it Kenland or whatever it was
Uh,
called. Um, and I guess I give that spoiler because the plot is not really what this movie is about. Um, and also, it's been 6 weeks. Come on.
yeah, that's true.
Also, note for future Daniel, mark spoilers because it's hard to talk about this movie without it being spoilery.
All right, we'll do.
Um, I see why everybody from the left to the right has either claimed or denounced this movie
Uh,
because it is very easy to take. So if you take this movie at face value, it is about like you could see somebody who didn't have a lot of sympathy for the plight of the Ken sitting in the friend zone and being unhappy about it,
hmm,
uh, trying to establish what get what he wants, right?
right. Yeah.
You could read into it that this is like what happens when you have an imbalance with masculinity and femininity, because it's like, well, on the one hand, nobody wants to be the little woman, but who wants to be the little man?
Yeah,
You,
exactly.
you kind of need that balance.
Yeah.
You could see it as this is a biting satire of how certain people see the world and just how ridiculous it is.
Yeah.
You could you can basically read into it whatever you feel like.
Mm,
What some people have said, where the Kens were imprisoned until there was equal rights in the real world, I that is not what I saw.
hmm,
What they said at the end was that they were going to start letting the Kens vote and maybe give them someone on the Supreme Court.
yeah.
Um, and maybe give them someone on the Supreme Court when they were ready, which it's like
Hmm,
uh, that's not the message I was hearing some people say about the end of this movie. So it's
uh,
some people either misinterpreted it or I misinterpreted it. I don't know.
yeah.
Um, I will say that I don't. I've also heard people say this movie is so inept that it accidentally parodies itself. Um, so, as far as its social messages go, and that might be where I'm landing because
Yeah.
it's the old Poe's law thing, right? It's hard to tell the difference between a satire of a ridiculous position and a sincere example of that ridiculous position.
Right. Yeah.
And make no mistake, the kind of simplified world that they present in Barbie is ridiculous on every level.
Yeah.
But the movie also knows it's ridiculous, which is why I think the intentional satire crowd has any sort of leg to stand on.
Ah. Yeah.
So to get away from like the culture war aspects, like the philosophy of the movie, um, this movie is full of loving references. They had the discontinued character Midge, who was just pregnant. My sister was talking with her about it, and she was like, "Yeah, I had that doll." So it's like where the Lego movie, for those of us who grew up with Legos, it's like, oh, I remember the spaceman, and
Yeah.
I remember this, I remember that. Uh, it was like that for girls who grew up on Barbie.
Hmm.
Um, so it has the nostalgia. I will say though that man, this is some dog crap Marvel grade humor
Oh.
through most of it. Like very
Uh-huh.
much the oh that was a thing, and just like so there's like Ken, and then there's Surfer Ken or whatever his name is, who's played by Simu Liu,
Oh,
and
yeah.
they have they have an argument with each other, and it's like, you want to have a beach off? Yeah, I'll beat you off right now. And it's just very. I found most of the humor kind of tiresome.
Yeah. Juvenile. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Juvenile or like overly fourth wall breaky or yeah.
Yeah. Right.
So it's just kind of like the humor that we've all gotten so tired of that used to seem fresh and funny.
Yeah. Mm.
As far as the acting goes, Margot Robbie is perfect casting for Barbie. One of the better jokes in the actually, so that's actually a perfect example of where the humor kind of can like we've talked about bathos before. You have unwelcome humor
Mhm.
interrupting a situation.
Yeah.
At one point in the movie, Barbie is getting kind of real, so or yeah, it's like the real world is intruding on her. So like she's just there without makeup on, and she's
Uh,
talking, it's like Barbie, I can't do it. I just feel ugly and useless. And the narrator cuts in. Note to the directors: if you wanted this scene to work, you probably shouldn't have cast Margot Robbie.
eh?
Which okay, that's a funny line, but also you're in the middle of a scene that's supposed to be kind of dramatic,
Yeah.
or if not, at least as dramatic as this movie gets.
Yeah. It's yeah. The main character is having an existential crisis, and then you throw in a bit of humor in there.
Right.
Yeah. It's yeah.
Because God forbid that the audience feels something for like 5 minutes straight.
Yeah. Yeah. That's Taika Waititi level
Yeah.
level directing
Yeah.
there.
Um, Also, what you heard is correct. At the end, Barbie does, in fact, go to a gynecologist because she chooses to sacrifice being a Barbie to go be a real woman.
Yeah.
Which is, meanwhile, she does in fact dump Ken, or at least lets him know, hey, we are friends. Like,
Mm,
she realizes that she should have, actually made time for him, or at least been clear about what she wanted from him.
mm.
Ken, okay, Ryan Gosling though as Ken steals this movie. At least in my opinion. Like I say, Barbie goes through a journey, but it's like I, I I kept thinking she's not really a character though. That's part of what the point of it is, that she's stereotypical Barbie. She doesn't have any interesting traits outside of being the most Barbie of them all.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling as Ken is just he he is a joy. Like most of the best scenes in the movie are him, especially when he decides to adopt patriarchy. Because his version of it's like I talked about the social aspects of it. This is like what happens when somebody who has no strong male role models in their life grows up, watches Andrew Tate, and gets like a PG idea of what he's up to. and tries to enact that.
Oh boy.
Like what a wuss's idea of a strong male looks like,
Yeah.
which is very toxic. So
Mm,
the movie is ultimately, I feel like, about balance.
yeah. Mm,
So it has a
yeah.
good message there. But do I love it? No.
Mm,
I don't think I'll ever. I don't think I feel the need to ever watch it again, because it's not real. It's not made for me.
right. Yeah. It's made for girls and women. Yeah.
Yep. There's some things here that I would not feel comfortable showing to a child, but that clearly has not stopped people. So,
Yeah. It didn't stop my one of my cousins from taking her daughter to it. So
yep.
yeah.
So, but I would say it's ultimately harmless. Although I got to say, I heard that there was this trend on social media where um, women would, um, if I recall correctly, women would like use this movie as a litmus test, and like if their boyfriends sympathized with Ken at all,
Oh.
then they were out. And I got to
Yeah.
say, if you don't sympathize with Ken and his situation, then you don't deserve to be dated, because it's like, no, like I said, nobody wants to be the little woman. Nobody wants to be the little man. Like to use some terminology that is a bit spicier than I like to be. He is a beta male orbiter who's basically just waiting for Barbie to decide she likes him.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Or like he thinks they're in a relationship, but they really aren't.
Mm,
But
yeah.
but to be fair, nobody in Barbie world really is. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. It's very artificial.
you know, they keep making a point out of that they have no genitals.
Oh. Yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, again, I would say that this is in the same ballpark as the Lego movie. Just, well, maybe I'm just biased because I grew up with one and not the other. But the Lego movie is more of a movie.
Yeah. All
But
right.
uh, but I can see why the movie's been successful.
Yeah.
And my hope is that the way that Hollywood reads the success of this is that they go, oh, well, maybe we should be like making things specifically for women rather than taking historically male properties and trying to convert them.
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, Hollywood always seems to learn the wrong lesson when it comes to something like this.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I feel like that with all the strikes and everything, strikes, streaming losses, lawsuits against Disney, and everything else, some reality is being injected into things.
Yeah. Let's hope so. Yeah.
Let's hope so.